All right. For those that are missing class today.
Shit.
No, they're not always going to be able to open their mouth nice and wide like that.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, right? Most of our patients, the RSI, aren't going to be able to do that.
So you can take some fingers and have them open their mouth
That's
and
what
see how many
papers said,
fingers you
3
can put in there.
fingers is what you want.
3 is pretty good. And then the other thing you could do is measure between the end of the chin here and the hyoid bone. That's another one.
And then
If you can
2.
get 3 in there. And then from here, from the hyoid bone down to the collarbone. So those are the 3 measurements you can do if you can't get them to open their mouth.
Pre-oxygenate. They say if you can get the patient to take some nice deep breaths, or just administer oxygen, not to actually hyperventilate with a big lung mask.
What's the new pre-oxygenation thing?
Nasal cannula.
Using nasal cannula at
Depends on people's protocols. I've heard 6 all the way up to 10.
10 is kind of the norm right now. I just saw the emergency physicians put a 15 on there also, which I thought that was kind of interesting.
It's uncomfortable, but it
Very
actually
uncomfortable.
shoots the oxygen back into the hypopharynx. So any type of breath they take at all is going to be pure oxygen. Instead of mixing it when they breathe through a bag mask, it's actually shot back there and removed the normal air and put it as oxygen.
The thought is that it actually fills up some of the dead space with high flow oxygen also. And so even, like you say, if they're not breathing very well, they're still gonna have it down in there in the residual areas. Great.
Protect the spine. Now the next one, the cricoid pressure, that's becoming more controversial, isn't it?
Super no. It's still there for RSI though. You'll see it in most of the protocols for RSI. Are you gonna have it in yours for RSI?
What's that?
Cricoid pressure, is that still gonna be in there for
Yes.
yours? Yeah.
I can't remember if it is or not.
Because some people are leaving it in for RSI.
I like right.
Gold Cross's original review was mandatory. That's why we had to have the 3rd person. We had to have a first responder EMT present to do cricoid pressure.
How many people are using the curved blade? Well, you guys, a lot of you are using now something different, but if you're using a regular laryngoscope, how many are using curved versus straight in adults? And so what does that do to the trachea when you use the curved blade? Because you're going to enter the mouth from the right and push the tongue over to the left. And so when you push the tongue over, the trachea goes with it. And so what does cricoid pressure, or the old burp thing, do? Backward, upward, rightward of the patient's right shoulder. So what does it do to the trachea? It brings it back into the midline so the patient who's intubating can actually visualize the chords. So it's really not a bad thing in case you're having trouble visualizing. You can still do that backward, upward, rightward pressure, and that actually brings the trachea back, especially if you're using a regular curved blade.
What AJ is telling the people is that it's bad because it's not stopping aspiration. That's what they're saying.
And they said if
But they don't really address the problem of visualization, so they kind of leave that open.
They also said if you do it incorrectly or are too aggressive with it, you actually compress the carotids and you can obstruct blood flow.
Because people stick their fingers too far out on the sides, yeah.
A lot of people, I've seen some people, they go on the thyroid cartilage instead of cricoid ring.
That happens a lot too. And so you're really not doing anything. Yeah. It's like anything else. If you're not doing the procedure properly, it won't work. So instead of attacking a training issue, they just chose to say like, well, we're just not going to do it anymore then.
And ponder, that's a good word.
I
Ponder.
like the ponder.
Prepare the equipment, people. Pre-medicate. And it's going to go into all this at great detail later. Position the patient. Paralyze and induce, pass the tube, and post-intubation management.